Why does life here look so different? Italy has a population of about 60 million people today. In the 1st century BC, the poet Tibullus coined the phrase urbs aeterna, or eternal city, as a nickname for Rome. From its founding in 753, the city established itself as such an important center of commerce, government, culture, and trade that its inhabitants could not foresee a time when Rome would fail to exist. In the 21st century, Rome is still one of the most impressive cities on the planet. And why not? It's the beating heart of a nation known for the finer side of life, art, culture, and great literature. But Italy is more than just a living memorial to humanity's past. It's a paradise for foodies and fashionistas alike. Italian craftsmen and designers set the standard for luxuries ranging from jewelry and glassware to racing cars. About 16 million Americans, that's about 6% of our population, claim Italian ancestry or heritage. And did you know that if you can prove that you are a direct descendant of someone with Italian citizenship, then you also have the right to claim citizenship based on that family connection? Okay, so not everybody can be that lucky, but there are other options for the rest of us that we'll discuss shortly. So stick with me as we take a closer look at what it's really like to live and work in Italy today. Let's turn our focus back to more current economic data. Today, Italy is the 3rd largest national economy in the European Economic Union, just behind Germany and France. It has a free market capitalist economy with the private sector in control of a majority of economic resources and means of production. This overall structure is very similar to the US economy. A few industries such as banking, utilities, and some agriculture enjoy protection from competition, but these are exceptions to the rule. For workers, average salaries in Italy tend to skew lower than in the US. In December of 2022, annual earnings for Italian workers averaged around $41,000 US, while US workers earned $52,000 a year. However, this salary disparity doesn't negatively impact the quality of life because the average cost of living is 34% higher in the US than it is in Italy. Now you may be wondering, if the US and Italy share the same basic economic structure, why does life here look so different? We can start to figure this out by looking at some of the more unique characteristics of the Italian economy. You probably would not be surprised to learn that tourism is the #1 industry in Italy. But did you know that Italy is a powerhouse when it comes to manufacturing? It's true. Italy builds and exports technical machinery, computers, vehicles, pharmaceuticals, paper, pottery, glass, and ceramics. Agriculture has been a mainstay of the Italian economy since antiquity. Italian olive oil, wine, fruits, and vegetables can be found in markets all over the world. Furniture, clothing, and accessories, especially high-dollar luxury brands, are some of Italy's most famous exports. When you take a big picture look at the Italian economy, you notice that the northern half of the country is more European in mindset. Northern Italy is where you typically find large firms that export goods across Europe and the world. Workers in northern Italy typically earn higher wages than their counterparts to the south, and the cost of living reflects this fact. The economy of southern Italy is generally made up of smaller companies or enterprises that are part of the regulated, protected, or uncompetitive markets. In this part of the nation, you see more small family-owned companies than multinational conglomerates. Government-owned enterprises and the headquarters for utilities companies and banks are more likely to be located closer to Rome than to Milan. Like most of Western Europe, Italy offers social safety nets that provide free public education for children, free or low-cost tuition to public universities for those who qualify to attend, access to universal health care, and a pension plan with both public and private components that typically provides retirees with retirement income equal to about 75% of their working wages. But these benefits come with a price tag. 10% of an Italian worker's gross wages are deducted for the nation's public pension fund. Income tax rates range from 23% for people earning 15,000 euros or less to 43% for anyone earning over 50,000 euros per year. That's far more than most American taxpayers are used to paying, but it's pretty much in line with what many workers in a lot of other developed nations are used to pay. But a country is more than just the sum of its total goods and services. It's also the people, the culture, and the lifestyle that exists because of its people, culture, and commerce. Italy has a population of about 60 million people today. A core belief for many Italians is that quality of life is more important than making money. Italians tend to define themselves by their families and their lives, not by their jobs, and the Italian money mindset reflects this belief. The quote, family business culture we mentioned a few moments ago aligns perfectly with their attitude towards life and work. Italians tend to use their network of family and friends to support each other personally, professionally, and economically. When they need to hire a plumber or attorney, they will often hire someone they know firsthand for the job. Italians place a very high value on personal savings. Historically, Italian workers tend to save about 10% of their income. During the pandemic of 2020 and 2022, the Italian savings rate rose to about 18%, in contrast to the average savings rate in the US household, which was just over 5% in 2022. A poll taken in early 2022 found that about 1 in 5 American workers doesn't save any of their annual income. With its relatively affordable cost of living, access to high-quality healthcare, available Wi-Fi, and abundant educational opportunities, Italy has become a popular destination for digital nomads and self-employed freelancers. If you're interested in living La Dolce Vita, here are some tips to help you get there. In March of 2022, Italy instituted a digital nomad visa program. The digital nomad program allows non-EU citizens to live and work in the country for up to 1 year. To qualify for a digital nomad visa, you must work for an employer that is registered outside of Italy and rely on telecommunications technology, in other words, the internet, as your primary means of work access. If you are self-employed or work on a freelance basis, you can apply for a self-employment or freelancer visa. This type of visa also allows you to stay in the country for up to a year. But instead of proving that you have a job, you only have to prove that you have the capacity to earn a living along with the financial resources to support yourself during your stay. The process to qualify for a visa varies depending on the type of program that you're applying for. Most programs will generally require you to show some type of authorization for employment, proof of salary, proof of accommodation, and valid health insurance, proof of financial resources. You'll also need to submit to a background check and obtain authorization from a law enforcement agency that you have no criminal charges pending against you in any jurisdiction. Italy has a fixed annual quota for the number of self-employed workers and digital nomad visas it will allow in a calendar year. You must obtain your visa before you arrive in country, and you must continue to satisfy the rules during your stay. Failure to abide by these rules of your visa could put you at risk of deportation, which could also affect your ability to travel elsewhere. So tread carefully and legally at all times. Visa applications currently run about $140 a year, and you'll need to pay at the time of your application. Certain types of visas can be renewed or extended, so be sure to keep enough cash available to pay those fees if you decide to extend your stay. Retiring in Italy is a dream goal for anyone who wants to enjoy a great quality of life, culture, great food and drink, and the abundance of year-round outdoor activities. Adherents of the financial independence retire early or FIRE philosophy often find that Italy is a great place to start a whole new life chapter a few decades ahead of their peers. Italy, along with 20 other nations in the European Union, uses the euro as its official currency. Monetary policy regarding the euro is overseen by the European Central Bank, or ECB. The main goal of the ECB is to ensure price stability, support economic growth, and job creation throughout the entire Eurozone. The Bank of Italy is the nation's central bank. It is responsible for the supervision of credit and financial markets, and for the regulation of bank mergers. Since 2021, Italian monetary policy has implemented a number of measures to safeguard both organizations and consumers from financial shock due to the global pandemic. While the country is seeing positive economic growth in 2023, economists are concerned that the recently passed tax incentives will add to the country's already high deficit, adding even more stress to an economy that's just beginning to recover. As of mid-2023, €1 is worth about $1.08 in US currency. Economists expect the exchange rate to stay within a few cents of this amount for the next year or so. It helps to remain aware of this rate while living abroad because a few cents increase in the exchange rate could have a large impact if you're living on a tight budget. First, the good news. Along with some required caveats, you can expect your overall cost of living in Italy to be as much as 1/3 less than it is in the US. Probably the biggest difference that digital nomads or expats notice first is the cost of rent. Rents in Italy often run about 1/2 of what you'd pay in the US. The average cost of a 900 square foot apartment, which would be advertised as an 85 square meter flat in Italy, would run you about $860. That's not to say that you'll find $800 apartments everywhere you look. You'll pay more to live in a major city, think Rome, Florence, or than in the suburbs. The cost of living in smaller towns or in agricultural areas can be a fraction of what it costs to live in a major city. Of course, you should also expect to have less choice when it comes to housing stock in smaller or outlying areas. As a general rule of thumb, you can also expect your overall cost of living in Italy to be higher in the north than it is in the south. Utilities, including gas, electricity, and water, for a one-bedroom apartment will average about $175 per month. This may sound like a bargain, but keep in mind that many homes in Italy lack air conditioning. When AC is available, you'll often find many municipalities in Italy prohibit AC systems from being set lower than 77 or 78 degrees. So when in Rome, be prepared to sweat it out if you're visiting during the summer months. Finally, food prices in Italy tend to run at or below what you pay for groceries at a supermarket in the States. You'll typically have access to a lot of locally grown fruits and vegetables, much of which can be bought for about $1 a pound. In addition, you'll usually find great prices on fresh bread, cheese, wine, eggs, and of course, pasta. Dining out will cost you more than cooking at home, but that's pretty much true everywhere, isn't it? Digital natives and self-employed workers should ensure that they have access to high-speed internet before finalizing any lease for a long-term stay. If internet access is not available at your place of residence, you'll need to join a co-working community. Internet access costs run between $25 to $35 per month, which is comparable to what you'd pay in a lot of American cities. Co-working costs can be paid on a drop-in basis for occasional visits or at a monthly rate for a regular seat. Italy has a very well-developed transportation system throughout the country. Most cities are highly walkable, especially in the central areas. Major cities offer public transportation in the form of buses, metros, and light rail. Long-distance rail links connect cities and towns of all sizes, and buses and trains tend to run right on schedule. One-way fares on public transportation run about $1.60, and monthly passes allowing unlimited use of systems currently run about $40. While it's possible to rent a car in Italy, you'll need an international driving permit and insurance in order to do so. You should expect to pay $7.50 or more per gallon of gas, so I wouldn't recommend driving if you're price sensitive at all. So when it comes to living and working in Italy, what's the real bottom line? Do people go there for the quality of life or the cost of living? Is relocating to Italy, even if only for a year or so, the dream of a lifetime or just a pipe dream? For those considering a life abroad, I'd say it all comes down to priorities. If you're ready and willing to live a life the Italian way, this could just be the place for you. To fully live La Dolce Vita, you'll need to be able to build a life for yourself apart from the work you are doing. You'll need to learn to embrace a new culture, give up old habits, and get used to living in a place where English is not the dominant language. But if you're up to the challenge of learning a new way to work and live, then Italy might just be the chance of a lifetime. So prepare yourself first, then jump in with both feet.